It is 7 o'clock and we have quorum, so. Calling to order the January 27th, 2025 meeting of the Beacon City School District Board of Education. Can we please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Vicki, can you call the roll?
Here.
Delayed, I believe. Also delayed.
Here. Here.
Here. Here.
Excused. Here. Matt, can you point out the fire exits?
Exits are in the back of the LGI.
Okay. We have one person who wants to make a public comment that I see here. Can you just come up and state your name for us?
My name is Vicki Fox.
Hi.
And I have to admit, I have not been keeping up with what the Board of Ed has been doing. So for all I know, what I'm going to talk about is something that's already being done. But I'm very concerned about what may be happening to children in this district with the immigration deportations and stuff. And I don't know if the Beacon School District has issued guidelines of any kind for the principals and the teachers to follow. When I was first thinking about making a statement on this, it was just ongoing tradition for ICE officers to leave alone hospitals, schools, and churches. But the Trump administration has put forth new guidelines overturning that. So, when I was originally going to talk, it was just to say, I think that the Beacon School District needs to hold Know Your Rights kind of workshops in which people understand that opening the door is implied consent for a search, and, helping people understand the difference between a real judicially signed search warrant versus something that was just signed by an ICE official, which does not go along with the Fourth Amendment for searches. And also creating a family preparedness plan. That's something very important for families to be aware of that they need to do. Now, of course, besides kids possibly coming home to finding that their parents have been arrested, I guess I can't believe they would do this for people younger than 18, but maybe they would. I don't know. It's really something that a number of school districts have been speaking with their administrators and figuring out, how to communicate and how to help prepare for this. And Beacon needs to do this.
Okay, thank you
Thank
for your
you.
comment. Okay. No more public comments for tonight, so we will go ahead and start with our workshops. We are starting tonight with Gully Stanford, who is a candidate for Duchess Bosse's board.
Flora,
Yes.
can I just take 1 second and
Of
just
course,
address it?
yes, of course.
Just to answer quickly, we did send out the state guidance and we sent out some additional information last week. We've been working as an administrative team to make sure we understand everything. We're meeting, our administrative team is, we're all meeting this week with one of our attorneys to go through it. Several of our bilingual staff have also been working with families around the guidance. So it has been something we've been working on. That's all I wanted to say for now, but thank you for coming.
It's going to have to filter down, so the parents know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to our first workshop, we're going to hear from Gully Stanford, who is a candidate for Duchess Bosse's board.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Lundahl, Clerk Jackson, trustees. Thank you very much for the opportunity just to chat with you very briefly. Gully Stanford, I'm a Hyde Park resident, and I serve as Vice President of the Board of the Duchess Bosse's, where you are very well represented by Michael Reel, the past president. I've had the honor of serving since 2020, I think, and thank you for your support in 2022. Much appreciated. It's been exciting times. We have consolidated the one campus. Hopefully, many of you have had an opportunity to visit. That can be arranged. It really is a wonderful facility, bringing all our programs together. It's immediately been recognized in the work of the Resilience Academy, previously known rather dismissively as Beta, but that is our alternative high school, and doing a wonderful job. We're very proud. Many of the Resilience students now are able just to cross over the corridor and participate in career technical instruction, so they're getting career workforce preparation as well as general education. Want to thank you for a couple of things. One is Dr. Lundahl hosted a meeting of the portrait of the graduate discussion, the new graduation measures, which the regents are in the process of adopting. Thank you for hosting that. And it's been a particular pleasure to serve with a couple of members of this board, actually, Ms. Huer and Ms. Stadler, on the advocacy committee of the Dutchess County School Boards Association, where we do our very best, obviously, to support things like full funding for foundation aid and expense, but also we pick up things about the affordability of career technical education by raising the amount of reimbursement you get based on the salary cap, and also the 4410s, how we provide special education to preschool students. You've done a wonderful job here in Beacon. I think you've taken the bull by the horns there. Thank you for that. But we're really trying to get the state to respond with adequate funding and working on that. So the advocacy piece seems to be going well. And then just finally, I want to thank you for your input. We're nearing the end of the search to fill the vacancy for district superintendent, and there was input from superintendents and board members and community stakeholders. And we'll be coming back to you because we're about to do a strategic plan. We haven't done one for many years, unfortunately, but we'll be looking for community input and component input on that as well. So just finally, there will be 3 vacancies on the board of the BOCES. Spakenkill resident, our president, Ralph Chimento, is running again, and I'm running again, and there's an unfilled vacancy, so undoubtedly there will be more candidates. You can nominate as many as you please. And so, of course, I would be delighted. I think Ms. Jackson has already gotten the instructions from our board clerk that, of course, I would be thrilled if you would not only nominate me, but honor me with your confidence in April, the privilege of your vote. There could only be one representative from each school district, so you're well represented by Michael Reel, so he won't be up again this time. But that would be my hope, and I thank you for the opportunity to have served. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Golly. Thanks for your work and for taking the time to come and speak with us. So next up, we have a presentation on Glenham Elementary School from Principal Cassandra Orser.
Hello, good evening. This is always one of my favorite things to do because I get to go through my phone and look through the pictures back, and I'm like, oh, that was all this school year. It happened already. So it's January, but we've already done so many things. And sharing photos is super hard to pick which ones I'm going to include in the presentation because there's so many. But to begin, I would like to start with academic excellence and high quality curriculum. A lot of what I will speak about is going to be similar to the other elementary schools. So we all are implementing HMH, the new literacy curriculum. There is still the continuation of foundations in pre-K through 2nd grade. The picture on the top right there is some of my pre-K friends. The teachers in pre-K are really phenomenal at creating multi-sensory ways for students. They're digging through a sand table, finding letters, and then putting them up on the letter board. So that's just one of their centers during a foundations lesson. Science 21 is now extended down to K and 1. And as a science teacher, that's super exciting because it's given all of the teachers confidence to be science teachers at the elementary level. And the two pictures on the bottom right there are second graders. You can see on the table, they designed their playgrounds and then they were putting their design into a model. And there was a lot of excitement and it was very engaging and hands-on, which they love and learn from. So we all are still using Ready Math and iReady. At Glenham, we will be having our annual STEAM fair in the end of March, March 27th. Coming up, we also have Mad Science coming to the building in March 11th. And then as well as South Avenue, we're also having the NED shows come, which is an SEL presentation on mindset. Speaking to IST and the instructional support team process and supports, out of all of the years at Glenham, I feel like this is the first year where it seems to be a really great support for teachers. We have really phenomenal AIS teachers, and the communication between grade levels has really been in sync, which is great as students move along. You can see the number there. So the Tier 1 students are currently being progress monitored. So they're not receiving academic interventions from one of our providers. However, they are being progress monitored at the classroom level. And those students, we check in with the teachers every 4 weeks now, and just to see, are they making progress or have they fallen any lower? And if so, like what other supports can we put in place? If you look in the third column there, that's Tier 2 and Tier 3 students. So not only are they being progress monitored and receiving interventions in the classroom, but they're also receiving support through AIS. Trying to figure out meetings was really kind of complicated because that's about 109 students. So we now have a color-coded calendar, and we have it on a rotating 4-week basis, and we've made it so that we can pull teachers at the end of the day during dismissal time and find coverage. So they're not missing instructional time, and the special area teachers aren't in classes at that time, so they're able to come out and support in the classrooms. And we're able to meet with teachers on a rotating basis every 4 weeks and go through their whole caseload every 4 weeks, which has been super helpful. Again, it's with a multidisciplinary team, so it has the AIS math teacher and the reading teacher. If it involves, like the occupational therapist, speech therapist, physical therapist, they're all available at that time because it's dismissal. So it's worked really well. Sometimes not so great for me because it's dismissal, but they're a phenomenal team and they can jump right in. So, moving on. Just to speak a little bit more about the academic intervention. So this breaks it down, students who are in math AIS, reading AIS, and then the total students at that grade level. So there's percentages there. The only number that is slightly off, and I'll talk about it a little bit more, is third grade math. There was a high number of students in third grade who we found were not fluent with their math facts. And that's really not something that an academic intervention teacher needed to focus on. It's more of like a classroom intervention. And I'll show you as we move on. But with the addition of the full-time math teacher that we have for AIS, we've been able to increase the time that students are receiving support. We've decreased group sizes. They were about 7 and 8. Now they're down to 5, sometimes 6, which is really helpful. And then also we've been able to increase the math TA to push in to support in classrooms, which is a little bit of a different model, but it's been really a great support for teachers to help provide the interventions and support students as needed. So on the bottom there, we talk about the two main goals at Glenham, vocabulary as the district goal, and then also that math fact fluency that we took a little look at. So if you take a look at this chart here, orange is the starting fluency in third grade. Green is their current fluency. So they've made some progress. The goal specifically is that by June, 80% of third grade students will achieve benchmark on their timed math facts assessment. Currently, or I should say in the fall, 57% of students in third grade reach the benchmark. So obviously the benchmark is going to change. It's going to be higher. But hopefully with just the practice of their math facts on a daily basis, we will see this chart continue to turn green. The teachers are having regular consultations with the AIS math teacher and also the fourth grade teachers. This chart is actually from Reflex Math, and that's a program that fourth and fifth grade have used regularly. And it was like multiple conversations at grade level teams where we were like, we really need to focus in on third grade math facts. So they have started that this year, and then just to move on so you can see it, this is this year so far with grade 4 and grade 5. So again, the orange is their starting fluency, the green is their current fluency. So these charts are super telling on how effective it is if students are using it on a daily basis. So hopefully by the springtime, we'll see more of that with third grade. On the bottom left are some of my friends. I forget which committee, just give me 1 second here. It was the STEM committee. They created math facts and academic vocabulary flip cards around the building towards our goals. So if students take a movement break in the hallways, we have all these little flip cards in the hallways that they can do some math facts, or some of them, I think, like there was a rectangular prism, they need to know the vocabulary. So we've tried to build it into every way we possibly can and also keep it fun. Just to speak a little bit to the vocabulary goal, the iReady data will provide more information after the mid-year benchmark, which is happening in February. The above chart is from fall, and you can see as you move down from phonological awareness, phonics, high-frequency words, vocabulary is really telling as the area of concern, and vocabulary acquisition is needed as a prerequisite for comprehension, which also almost looks exactly the same. So with the new curriculum, the HMH curriculum, there is vocabulary study, and it's through explicit morphology, which is prefix, suffix, root word instruction. The teachers are really loving it, and they're loving the texts that are aligned with the curriculum. So I'm hoping with that, along with all of the other strategies and also professional development. Teachers are very interested in the science of reading, and BOCES has offered a lot of really great PDs, including some that are around content vocabulary and content language. So we also have 2 teachers currently participating in the letters training, and then several teachers have signed up for the new Pulse micro-credential, and I put in there including myself. So we all just recently, it was like a month ago, we signed up, and we're trying to do like a study group. It's self-paced, so as we work through it, just to learn more about the science of reading and the research behind learning. So there's Miss Donna and her pre-K friends on the top, who is just recognized in the award ceremony. You can also see in that picture, there's lots of 5th grade friends who are the helpers for pre-K, and they're the buddies who bring the pre-K students down to class every day. But just speaking more to academic excellence with experiences, there's a little picture of Halloween, there's apple picking, there's the art enrichment club. That's my friend Amelia. She came in first place with the fire prevention logo poster, and then 50th day of school celebration. And that bottom left picture was the stone soup celebration. So it's become a theme at Glenham that when you read a book and it happens to have a food item in it, you then make that food item. So there's been a lot of multi-purpose room use. There's another picture coming up, which I'll show you in a minute. But just to talk through some of the bullet points there, lots of field trips. We've gone to the Bardavon to see the Nutcracker and Sugar Skulls. Goodnight Moon is coming up for kindergarten and pre-K. Apple and pumpkin picking, bowling started this week, so our third graders went today. Our fifth graders go tomorrow. Kindergarten is going to the aquarium in Norwalk. All of pre-K through 5 has gone to Stony Kill, which is our favorite, like one of our favorite places to go. This year, fifth grade is going to the Bronx Zoo. Fourth grade went to the Purchase Theater to see Dr. Kaboom, which is a really fun science show. So we have lots of different things planned for field trips, all aligned with the curriculum. For enrichment times, we do have PE enrichment time, music, and art time. This year, we did add a sensory time in PE. So we noticed several of our friends needed some movement in the morning as they came into school. So Miss Green, our PE teacher, created a time in the morning, and she has 40 minutes where classes rotate in and out, and she does like relay races or just ways to get the kids moving first thing, get their energy out, and then get them ready to get to class. So that's been really helpful and just a fun way to start your school day. We've also had some school-wide celebrations. I talked about the 50th day of school, Halloween dress-up parade, fire prevention. Coming up, we have the 100th day of school, so everyone dresses as 100-year-olds. And then the 101st day of school, where everybody dresses like 101 Dalmatians. So lots of fun things. I can speak more to the community involvement towards the end, and same with garden time. For clubs, I was trying to figure out, which was a process, but we had 19 clubs run in fall, and there were 373 students who participated. So some of them are repeat students, but some of the clubs, like intramurals and girls running and the STEM club, have 30 plus students in them. Coding has 35. So we really are having a lot of students participate in clubs, which is awesome. Glenham after school is a little chaotic, especially like Get Fit or Run Club. They're using the hallways, they're using the gym, they're using the music room, and kids are running everywhere. So it's great. They're in school, they're like breaking the rules because they get to run in the hallway, but they love it. It's so much fun, and they are getting fit. There's lots of competition. It's fun. And then in winter, we do have about the same amount of clubs. They all haven't started yet, so I don't know the full number of student participants. And then I spoke to the buddies already. Oh, continued. Beacon High School swimming is always one of our favorite trips. It's requested every year. The kids don't really understand that that's part of the curriculum now, and we do it every year. So we do have a Spirit Week coming up that was chosen by our fifth graders. We had our welcome back dance. We had probably the craziest of all door decorating contests that I've ever seen this year. The picture on the right there is the winning door, and it had a good list next to the door, and it had every student's name in the school on it. So they could all go and find their name on the good list, which was super cute. On the top right there is it's grade 3 STEM club. The running club is in the middle there, Stony Kill at the bottom. And then this, right next to Stony Kill, there was like a fake snowball fight in the hallway during the kids visiting to see the different doors. And then the bottom left there is one of the art clubs that runs. I also didn't speak to the morning news show, which is a continuation. We've done at Glenham for a long time. We change out news crews, they train each other, and they run the whole show from recording to editing and all of those things. Culture of care. So we have introduced Positivity Project, which we're in week 3 now, I believe. But just to, I opened it already here. Just to show you what that looks like, the building leadership team creates like a one-pager for teachers with all of the resources from the Positivity Project. So the toolbox is there, the different character cards, the read-alouds for the classrooms, and then the upcoming traits so they know what to plan ahead for. And then just as an example, I can show you what the toolbox looks like here. So it has the daily lessons in it by grade level. It has the toolbox in other languages. There's just different parts of the day, and teachers can use whatever they want to from these resources, but all of them are available. Oops, that's next. Let me pop back over. So I can pop right to it, actually. So then each month, the building leadership team puts out the celebrations for the month. And this just goes to classroom teachers. And again, they can take what they feel like is appropriate for their class or their age level. So just to flip through so you can see some celebrations around the world. Some of them are videos, some of them are books through Epic. And it just gives them an opportunity. I actually just posted on Instagram, Miss Morgan's class, they did the Campbell soup, and all had Campbell soup, some of them for the first time. Martin Luther King. So this is just a resource, again, for teachers with all of these different resources that they can use in their classroom. And then Lunar New Year coming up. Just click through. We also have student council in the building, which is considered one of our clubs. Mrs. Revicio is running it this year, and there is a picture on the top left and then the bottom left there. That was our cereal box Dominoes, and we had cereal boxes donated. It was over 255 cereal boxes that we were able to donate to food pantries and to families in need. They also have a blood drive scheduled coming up, and they also supported the coat drive here from Beacon High School. We've continued to use flexible seating and settings, and the top right there is a picture of our new space for our sensory room. And then that picture on the bottom right there, I had to include. That's one of my friends, and he was having a bad day, and we turned it around in the sensory room, and he was super snuggly, and he holds a super special place in my heart because I taught his mother as a 7th grader, and it's come full circle. So I took the picture and texted it to his mom and was like, but it's a great, we were on the crash pad in the corner, and there we had the birds chirping. It was a really calming and happy way to turn the day around. So we continue to use the zones of regulation and sensory paths around the building. I don't have a picture of the family portraits, but then that bulletin board there, every student in the school did their handprint on, and that is for positivity projects. So we started to add each of the character traits. So you can see optimism, perseverance, prudence. And then this week is social intelligence. For sustainability, I added some pictures. This was actually kind of sad to do because the garden is covered in snow right now, but the pictures look really nice and warm and sunny. So we have the garden, obviously, at Glenham in our courtyard space. Working with Land to Learn. We also have a recycling committee, and the recycling committee uses the student council to go around the building and collect bottles, and then they cash the bottles in to buy plants to plant outside. So it's a fun way for the kids to see, like, the bottles are actually worth something. We get money from them, and we plant plants with it. So we also have the Central Hudson Energy Conservation presentation on the top left there. And then come April, we'll have our annual schoolyard cleanup day. This year we did something new where we sent out ahead of time a yearly calendar of the events. So the PTO and I over the summer planned out everything September through June. There is one addition now because we are going to have our first annual Glenham Family Barbecue in June, which is going to be super fun. We have a lot of space for it. Maybe not all the parking we need yet, but we're going to try.
When is this?
It's the first Friday in June.
Okay.
So steer clear of Glenham. I still continue to send out monthly newsletters. That is clickable.
You did divide Meet the Teacher Night into 2 nights
I
this
did,
year.
yeah, I did.
Which was great.
Yes. And all of my neighbors appreciated it.
Yeah.
The use of Parent Portal has been wonderful and a huge paper saver to not have to send home printed report cards and progress reports. And then we've had lots of evening events. Besides Meet the Teacher, the supply drop-off, we had Trunk or Treat, which there's a picture there on the bottom. It's kind of hard to take pictures at that because it is dark. We had the pasta dinner, which we have some of our friends and Cindy in the kitchen serving all of the pasta. We had a hot cocoa paint and sip, which you can see the pictures right there. And then bingo night is coming up, so that is in February. So we've done lots of fun things for evening events and PTO collaborations.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Did anybody have any questions or comments?
I really appreciated the data story that you told and how it's leading to action, like that information is leading to actions that you're taking to sort of head off issues and get kids on track during the school year. And the creativity around the math facts and the meetings was, yeah, just very impressive.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
It's fun to see what's going on. I don't have any kids there anymore.
I know.
No, I'm like, as a former PTO member, that I'm like, the paint and sip is still happening. We
Yes.
see that.
It was really big. Do you see how many people were
That's
there?
like,
That's really well attended.
We had to do a second order of all the supplies through Amazon.
nice.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, just to sort of piggyback on what other members are saying, I think it's the key to creating a strong community in your school is making sure you make time for everybody to get together. So that's great.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Cassandra.
All right, next we have a budget update from Matt and Anne Marie.
So we get to follow Cassandra? Talking about, this is not fair. This is just a brief update. We want to do this, as we go through the budget season, we're going to have, different departmental presentations. But we also want to do an update from Anne Marie and I at all or most of the meetings, just about kind of where things stand. So we want to just talk about Governor Hochul's proposed budget, which came out last week. So I should say almost all, we're one of the districts that is receiving. So almost all districts are receiving at least a 2% foundation aid increase in her proposed budget. That, I can't emphasize this enough. Last year, there was no increase for Beacon and about 300 other districts in New York. So this is a big change. I said in my communication to the community, there's a lot of people advocating on this last spring. I do think that stuff makes a difference. It may not make a difference in the moment, but over time it does. So that's huge for us. Part of her budget proposal is also what she's calling a bell-to-bell ban, requiring schools to develop and implement a policy by August 31st regarding cell phones. I'll change the wording on this a little bit. So a couple of positive things from that. From a budget perspective, is she's providing, or at least proposing to provide funds that will help pay for the, what we're hearing right now is the proposed legislation will be, cell phones will have to be stored in, somewhere in something. Doesn't have to be a Yonder pouch, but she is providing, or they are providing money in this proposed legislation. I did in my update to the community. I attended a NISCUS budget update for regional superintendents just a few days ago. And the NISCUS representative said this is highly likely to pass. Like, so we are preparing now. We spent a lot of time on cell phones last summer. Our middle school and high school administration, teachers and students have done a great job with the classroom restrictions we put in place this year. It's been very positive. So we're just going to start working now to work on getting ready for this. My hope is that the language for this gets settled really soon, because there is, as we all remember from last year, there's changes to the code of conduct that probably have to happen and all those things. And like, so we'll start working on, it now, but we do need like really specific language from Albany to fully implement. One little concern I have, so you're going to get I'm going to try to provide a little bit more of my thoughts, whether you want them or not. One concern I have with this, while I know it's for good reasons, is the amount of lobbying that took place from the Yonder Company in Albany regarding this. I saw somewhere that they spent in the six-figure range lobbying legislature and governor for this. So I only say that to say, like, it'd be great if there were alternatives to one company that provides this sort of storage thing, because that's the one part of it that feels a little bit off to me. But the intention of the bill, I think, is great to provide more distraction-free environments for students. Governor's also providing universal free meals. So as you are well aware, Beacon is already in the community eligibility provision that we are, we've been having free meals for everyone for the past year or more. So this would be every district in New York State. And then she's extending a program that would help folks navigate the civil service system. So, we just provided the rough numbers there in terms of the foundation aid increase. The overall aid is a little bit less than 2% for us. It's 1.8. That's because of some of our expense-driven aid. It's just a little bit down. That's not really a negative thing. We have to spend money to get expense-driven aid back, so that's not like a cut or anything. It's just a reflection of our spending in a wide variety of areas. What are some of the areas we get expense aid from?
Some of it includes BOCES aid, building aid for our capital project, transportation aid for our buses and our transportation expenses, and also special education, so high cost aid and private excess cost aid, which is a reimbursement of children going out of district and getting back money that way.
So one thing to note, and so we're going to spend some future board meetings. Whoop, can't lean on this. We're going to spend some future. I should know that after 8 years. Future board meetings, we really want to focus on pre-K more. So just to emphasize again, Beacon has really gone all out with full day pre-K. We've been able to meet everyone on that interest list. So our funding for pre-K is the same as the previous year. That's the same for all the districts. So with the advocacy committee and just my own work, we want to explore some different ways to advocate for the improvement of pre-K funding. This budget update workshop I went to for the Mid-Hudson group of superintendents, I felt really seen when the person from NISCUS talked about how the use of the phrase universal pre-K is just one of the greatest legislative misnomers ever created, because there's nothing universal about it. I feel like sometimes I'm one of the few people harping on that all the time. So NISCUS, the superintendent organization for the state, their advocacy around pre-K is around having aid for transporting pre-K students, which currently does not exist. One of their other areas is for pre-K advocacy is around if districts have a waiting list for pre-K, that you're actually able to do like a needs-based offering of pre-K and not just like a straight lottery. That current UPK laws require it to be just a lottery. I don't know why they left out just funding itself for pre-K, but that will be something I'll be exploring, trying to provide more information for the board for my advocacy work. I'll be attending the superintendent lobby day on March 4th, I think, in Albany. But I'll be working on it before then. My advocacy work, a lot of it will be around pre-K. I think it's something that both the governor and the legislature like to take a lot of pats on the back for, but they're not funding as well as they should. And whether it happens this year or in future years, it's something that I'm going to keep hitting. Anne Marie's going to talk a little bit about our growth factor.
Yes, so we're in the process of calculating what our tax cap calculation would be, and these are the two factors that help in the calculation and are different every year. So the tax-based growth factor, and we've talked about this a lot at the board level, and I'm going to try to put out a little bit more for the public to understand it, but our tax-based growth factor in Beacon, 1.017, which means you can increase the levy by that amount before you do all your other calculations. It's the highest in Dutchess County. Well, why? That tax-based growth factor is because of new construction. So, obviously I don't have to tell people that live in Beacon, and when you walk around and drive around, there's a lot of development here. There's a lot of permanent additions to places. So it's not like a change in assessment of someone's house. It's actually major enhancing of current property or actually building new. So that's a plus for us because then, we were always worried about state aid, and the only other way to get money really is through the taxes. So if you're limited on the tax cap and you don't know what you're getting in state aid, it's kind of a very hard situation to do when you're doing the budget. So for Beacon, the tax-based growth factor is a great way to increase the levy that way. And then the allowable growth factor is the 2%, which is kind of what people think it should be. That's always compared to the consumer price index, the CPI. So 2% is the max. The CPI currently is not as high as it was, but it's still more than 2%, but are only limited to go to 2%. So those are two little things. As we get a little closer, maybe the next meeting or the meeting after, we'll talk about how the calculation works and where we are, is what the tax cap will look like.
So I'm going to speak very quickly to this. I'm not an expert at all in some of these things, but at this workshop I went to, they did talk about, obviously there's a change in the federal administration and that there may be some changes with federal funding somewhere down the road. So some of the areas they kind of asked us to be looking at, not that we have any control over this, but just to be aware of, is, obviously there could be changes with the education department itself. We've seen that in the news about, some folks wanting to abolish it or what have you. That does not mean that the funding will end. And I shared with the community last week, roughly about 2% of our budget comes from federal funds. But one of the big areas that they're monitoring is Medicaid funding. So New York is one of the largest Medicaid recipients in the country, along with states like California. If that is changed significantly at the federal level, that will be a budget shortfall that the governor and legislature will have to figure out. So that could impact, districts at some point down the road. It may not be this spring, may not be ever. The other one they had us kind of thinking about is meals. So the governor, with the current formula, the governor is proposing to add on to what we're getting, what the state's getting from the federal government, and to have meals be universal, free access across every district in the state. If the feds change that formula, that means that promise from the governor, she would have to put more money into it if the feds sort of pulled some federal money back out of it, right? So that could be down the road as well. I think the reason they're saying this stuff is so we were extremely happy with the governor's proposal to be back getting a 2% increase for foundation aid. We're really pleased with that. But we are monitoring that things could change at the federal level. And that's something that, we'll all just kind of be finding out about when it happens. So it's just one of those things. And then just, we're going to be getting into greater detail around these items in the month of March. At those board meetings, we're currently trying to work on them. But if we're adding, right, so that federal slide that I just showed, all that all stays fine, if we're adding, we really want to be looking at, and I've talked about this a little bit when Brian presented, looking at adding programming classes and supports at Round Belt Middle School, through either a schedule change or adding sport teachers or both, adding academic supports K through 5, looking at mental health supports through some potential grants, and then continuing professional development. We'll have a lot of smaller items under this, but we wanted to just, each time we talk, like these are some areas that we'd love to strengthen. One thing we don't have on a slide, I don't have the number in my head, number of teachers retiring, I want to say 11.
Very
10 or
close to
11.
that, 10 or 11.
You know, I never, you know, we have amazing teachers retiring this year. I'm not like celebrating them leaving. I'm celebrating their contribution to the career. However, when, you know, a veteran teacher leaves and we're replacing with a new teacher, that is a positive budget impact for us. So we have a slightly higher number of teachers retiring this year than normal. For us, it's around 10 or 11. We'll get that specific number for the next meeting. So that is another positive for our budget planning for next year in terms of staffing and whatnot. And we'll get into some of this at the board retreat next week and also in the next board meeting too. So this is just a starting point, but we wanted to make this updated every board meeting. And then I'll also find ways to keep updating the community around this stuff too. When I had shared some just very basic budget information with the community in some of my emails, I had people write me back like right away saying, hey, this is great. I never totally understood X, Y, or Z. So we'll just keep doing that like on a very sort of weekly basis as well. Any questions about any of this?
I don't have any questions, but I am super grateful that you're laying it out like this and sort of even before the budget has been finalized, so we can sort of understand what the stakes are. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I'm personally, I'm trying to get more involved in like both the advocacy part. That's not always been one of my strengths, and also just attending more of the regional meetings around, and so I have sort of that understanding. One thing I should add, this was just the presenter's opinion. Some of these things were just opinions I'm sharing. He felt like the 2% increase we'll probably see next year as well. Not to be cynical, but next year's an election year in New York State for governor, and so they probably wouldn't be wanting to cut funding for 300 districts or 600 districts in an election year. So we could at least be thinking that could continue for a year. One other thing that's outside of that federal slide that I had, this is a state issue. So most districts are receiving the 2% increase. I think the number is something like 13 districts or some really small number are receiving a decrease. But one of those 13 is New York City Public School System, and their decrease is several $100 million. I'm as much of an expert in New York politics as anyone else, so I'm not, but that probably won't stand. That probably will change as we get closer, and all the horse trading goes on. So that's just something, I don't think that will impact, the 2% increase that all the districts are getting, but it could impact her overall vision for the budget because she may have to make some changes there. So that's where we are.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Okay, so since our student representatives are not here right
There's
now.
either activities or illness happening.
Right. It's a busy time. So we will move on to reviewing the changes on the agenda. There are two for tonight. The first one is 11.08. That is the new board code of ethics that we're voting on tonight, and it has the changes that were recommended by the district's attorney. The next one is 15.07. That is the employment agreement with Karen Pagano. So we will move on to executive session. Can I have a motion for the board to adjourn to executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular individual? The board will return in about 30 minutes. Matt, does that sound about right?
Yeah.
30 minutes.
So moved.
Chris, second?
Second.
Kristen, comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes. How many of us are there tonight? 8-0. Okay, we'll be back in 30 minutes. We are back. So, Matt, do you want to do your superintendent's
Yeah,
report?
I just have a couple of things. They'll be quick. I'll be very quick on this piece. I did want to just kind of go back to the public comment. We have put information out to the entire community regarding immigration, both the New York guidance and just, we also sort of tried to pair it apart. We know we have staff working with some of our families on it as we speak. We're working on it as an administrative group to make sure we're as well-informed as possible. So I think that's the only thing we can really do right now, but we are on top of it. And as best we can be. It seems like it's sort of a fluid thing right now, but we are spending quite a bit of time trying to educate ourselves and educate the community and our staff too. Just second thing, I had to just kind of, not that this is necessarily in everyone's calendar, but I needed to move. I'm doing a community Zoom webinar just to review the results from the survey and talk about some next steps. I'm doing it on Monday now, next week, Monday, February 3rd at 6. I'll send out reminders to the whole community about that. I'm working with the principals I'm doing a night or afternoon at each school, either a PTO meeting or separate from PTO meeting, just have more of an in-person conversation regarding it. And then just to reinforce what we talked about earlier, some of those bigger sort of ticket things, we feel like we're able to do them. We're feeling confident right now that we can at least get some of it done. March is the month that the 2 board meetings in March is where we're really targeting if we have extra instructional positions or mental health positions, that we're targeting those meetings is getting really in depth on that. We're still working through a lot of the details right now. So I just wanted to remind folks of that, still kind of a work in progress. Other than that, we're really happy about the budget proposal from the governor, and we're excited to move forward with all that. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. Okay, moving on to Board of Education comments and committee reports. Semra?
No comment right now.
Okay, great. Kristen?
We had the audit committee meeting. We discussed the most recent audit. I believe the corrective action plan is on the agenda for tonight. Was that corrective, right? The letter, right?
Sorry.
The letter for the audit, the corrective action plan's on tonight or no?
It is not on tonight, it will be on next meeting.
And then our next meeting is, I believe, February
February
9th. right?
19th.
19th.
Okay. Had it in my notes right here. Where's my book? Yep, and that's it. Thank you to Cassandra for the presentation. It was really interesting and illuminating.
Okay, great, thank you. Alina?
Just thank you to Cassandra for the presentation. I love all of them, but something about when she does hers is,
Yeah.
I like it, so.
All right, Chris?
Yep, just echoing the appreciation. The goals I thought were really clear and how they were working towards it. So I appreciated that. And all of the principal presentations, I think that was our last one. So just really enjoyed those. Appreciate the preparation and the time to come speak with us.
Great. Lavon?
No comment.
All right. Eric?
I just wanted to mention, we had the commendation ceremony before, and it was great recognizing students and staff from across the district. It was wonderful. And I want to thank Matt. I think I said this last year. Matt does a really good job with the ceremony. Little quips in there. He's funny. He knows it's amazing. He seems to know everybody and has something to say. It's really great. So I just want to say just a really nice job, Matt. It was really, really well done. Finally, the facilities committee meeting. We're supposed to be on the 10th of February, but it's going to be moved into March. So when we get something, I'll let everybody know.
But we are going to have the subcommittee meetings.
Correct. Subcommittee meetings. But we don't have dates yet for those.
No, we're going to be contacting each, so there's going to be a subcommittee on the theater, subcommittee on, Anne Marie, help me remember, subcommittee on the door entry, the secure entryway.
Yes, in the fields.
Just 3? Was there a 4th one?
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Anthony's on the fields one, right?
Meredith is theater. And
Meredith is theater and I'm on entryway.
Meredith
wanted the theater, so I said I'll take the fields.
And I got the
No.
entranceways.
And Eric was like security. He
Great.
looks like a bouncer, wanted to be security.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anthony?
No comments, just a really good job. Simple comment, Matt did a great job with the ceremony. It was awesome. I mean, you could see the smiles on the face, and the kids, when the elementary kids were standing next to you, I don't know if you were able to see their faces, but their faces were full of joy that lit up the whole room from the elementary kids. And even the senior that was recognized, just the pride that they took in walking down. It's something so simple, but yet gets overlooked in many places. And for you to take the time out to acknowledge it in a public setting is great for the district. It puts a really good shining star on the district. So good job, and I'm sure the administrators follow with that leadership too. So
Great. Yeah, I will third the commendation compliments. I think that it's really great when we sort of stop and take time to talk about, why we're here, and it's for these kids and for this staff and community, and recognizing the people who are really going above and beyond to make the experience special. It's nice to be reminded of that. So thank you for doing that and keeping that going. I also wanted to mention that I attended the Junior High All-County Festival, which was held this year at Beacon High School. It was incredible. It's really exciting to see, our musically inclined students sort of rise up to the all-county level and perform together. I was just incredibly impressed, and I was also very happy that it was here this year because it made it very, very close. No going to John Jay or a far-flung school. So good
How
job.
far
on
away
that.
did you have to park?
You know what? I drove around. I parked in front of the pool. Somebody
Oh,
just happened to be
okay.
leaving.
Because we also had a 16-team wrestling tournament here on Saturday.
Yeah,
as
it was
well.
bonkers.
So I was a little worried about parking, but it all worked out.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, when people start parking on all the grass,
That's when you know it's busy.
Yeah, it's happening. I just wanted to let everybody know that all of the notes for our first Board of Ed newsletter have been sent to BOCES, and they are going to work on the draft. I'm excited for us to get this off the ground, and this first one should be ready to publish by February 10th. So stay tuned. And I also wanted to remind everyone.
can we just go into the newsletter? Can we see that in draft form before it gets?
Yes, the draft will be shared with you. So don't worry. And then I just wanted to remind everybody about the board retreat that we have coming up. So it is, what was it again? It was the 5th, Wednesday the 5th, 6 to 9 p.m. So I'm looking forward to it. And to remind everyone that if you have any questions or discussion points that you would like to bring up related to district budget, please send them to me and we'll find a way to work them into the agenda. So that is it for me. So we will move on to the consent agenda. The use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. Are there any items that any board members would like to have removed from the consent agenda? No? Okay, great. Hearing none. Can I have a motion to approve 11.01 through 15.07? Is that right?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Kristen, okay. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, passes 8-0. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
So moved by lots of people, second? Okay, by Summer, okay, comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Okay, passes 8-0. Good night.